Women do not want your protection if that is contingent on you continuing to oppress us. You should never use protecting us as an excuse to further the patriarchy. We have declined your protection. We do not need it. We are not children. We have agency. We choose freedom. And if you think that women should be oppressed because they need your protection, you win the Darwin Awards. It is the foundation of the free Western world to choose freedom over safety. Give me liberty or give me... Anybody who chooses safety over freedom deserves neither. That's Ben Franklin. We choose freedom. Leave us alone.
You know something I thought about? There are not a lot of men on this earth. Let me take that back. There are not a lot of men in this generation that serve women. And I emphasize on the serve because I've dated so many men and also have spoke to a lot of men that are very much not into serving women. It's always, well, what do you bring to the table? Well, what do you have for me? Well, I got you this the other day, now you owe me. It's always that. And it's very sad because only a small percentage of men were raised properly where a woman does what she does, a man does what he does, and y'all come together as a team, as a partnership. There's roles for each side. And trust me, a man is going to do what he needs to do as long as you do what you got to do. That's it. That's all. But it's the fact that men still seek women to do this for me, pay for this. Oh, you forgot about this. Open your own door. Like, just crazy stuff. And that's not how I was raised.
She pushed away his protection, and now she keeps asking why he left. But the answer is simple and painful. No man stays where he's treated like the enemy. Today, I'm going to show you a truth nobody wants to say out loud. When a woman turns independence into disrespect, she ends up digging her own loneliness. This is a scene we've seen a million times. She turns her face away when he tries to protect her, or laughs, or says she doesn't need it. And then later, when everything settles, she's shocked and asking why he disappeared. It's not magic. It's not fate. It's human reaction. When someone offers protection, and by protection I'm not talking about just opening a door or paying for dinner. I'm talking about presence, defense, stepping in when things get heavy. And that gesture gets rejected with contempt. The person offering it has two basic choices. Keep insisting until they become the punching bag, or pull back to protect themselves. And pulling back often means leaving. There's a huge difference between independence and disrespect. Independence is choosing, having a voice. Disrespect is treating someone's offer like an insult. When a woman says, "I don't need that," with pride and zero gratitude, whether in her tone or her actions, the other person hears this. "Okay, you want to climb that mountain alone. I'm not begging to carry your backpack." Nobody likes feeling optional. Protection isn't currency or domination. It's a gesture of care that's meant to be received with respect. If it turns into something to mock, the gesture loses its meaning. There's also the personal limit factor. Man or woman, when you open up emotionally and get ignored, you learn fast to stop opening up. Offering protection usually comes with emotional availability and an investment in the relationship. Rejecting that with arrogance sends a clear message. I don't value what you're giving me, and value is what builds trust. Without trust, there's no foundation for partnership. That's why people don't walk away out of nowhere. They walk away from exhaustion, from repeated hits nobody can take forever. Another important point, wounded pride. When a gesture is spit on, the person offering it usually doesn't argue. They swallow it, stack it with the others, and when they reach the limit, they leave. It's not revenge, it's self-preservation. And her shock later, "Why did you go?" shows she never connected her actions to the consequences. Some people expect the other person to keep reacting and adjusting without ever admitting their behavior has an impact. It's emotional blindness, and it's expensive. In the end, the problem isn't her independence. The problem is how she uses that independence to emotionally burden someone else and push away any gesture that brings closeness. In the next block, I'll dig into the psychological impact on the man, how feeling useless and unvalued eats away at him, and why so many prefer walking away rather than staying where they're diminished. Here's where we get into the part nobody talks about, but where everything actually breaks, the psychological impact this has on a man. Because it's not just about her saying, "I don't need your protection." It's about what that sentence really means underneath. When a man offers protection, he's not trying to control. He's trying to contribute, participate, be useful in a way that fits who he is. It's an instinct that comes from deep inside, to be responsible, to be present, to be the one who holds things together when the world gets heavy. And when that instinct is treated like a joke or a threat, he feels something no man likes to admit out loud. He feels useless. And that feeling of uselessness is one of the biggest reasons men pull away silently. It's not explosive, not a fight, not drama. It's something that eats at him slowly, like rust on a metal gate. At first he tries to ignore it, then he tries doing less. Then he starts pulling away emotionally, and eventually he disappears. Not because he didn't care, like people assume, but because inside he had been empty for a long time. Every time she rejected his gesture, it was like saying, "What you bring to the table isn't good enough for me." That kills any motivation to keep fighting. A lot of women today don't understand this because they grew up hearing that male protection is oppression, that accepting help is weakness, that independence means never needing anyone. The problem is that this erased a basic value: partnership. There's no partnership when one person is constantly dismissed. And here's the harsh truth: a man can only love where he feels needed. Not out of obligation, but because it's part of his identity in a relationship. When he realizes that everything he does is being interpreted as control, he simply stops trying. And when he stops trying, she feels it. Sometimes not that day, not that week. But she feels it when life gets hard, when loneliness creeps in, when nobody checks if she got home safe, when there's no "are you okay" message anymore. His absence weighs more than the presence she pushed away. And that's when the question shows up: why did you leave? But it's too late, because he carried that weight alone for months while she thought everything was fine. Now we get into the deeper part: how modern culture completely messed up the way men and women see themselves in relationships. Because you can't ignore the context. A lot of women today were taught to see a man not as a partner, but as an optional accessory. If he comes, cool. If he doesn't, whatever. It sounds empowering on paper, but in real life, it creates a massive problem. It destroys the emotional foundation that makes a man want to stay. When a woman is raised to believe that any masculine gesture is an attempt to control her, she starts living in permanent defense mode. She interprets everything in the worst possible way. If he tries to help, it's because he thinks she's incapable. If he offers support, it's because he wants to dominate. If he shows care, it's because he wants to weaken her. The relationship becomes a minefield where the man always loses. He can't be too present, but he also can't be too distant. He can't protect, but he also can't ignore. That impossible game wears anyone down. And that's where the paradox shows up. She demands a strong, decisive, present man, but rejects the very behaviors that make a man that way. It's like asking for fire and blowing out the flame at the same time. And when the flame finally dies, she wonders why everything feels cold. The truth is simple. You can't enjoy the benefits of masculine energy while disrespecting the nature of it. Culture also pushed a version of independence that's based on isolation, not freedom. Independence became reject anything that comes from a man, like accepting a gesture would betray her worth. But at the end of the day, nobody builds a life alone. Everybody needs support, emotional, physical, moral. The problem is that many only realize this after they've pushed away the person who was willing to offer it. There's another point almost nobody mentions. This dynamic becomes a cycle. She rejects, he withdraws. She feels the absence, but doesn't understand how she created the distance. Then she enters a new relationship with the same posture, and gets the same result. That's where the "all men are the same" narrative is born. When in reality, what's the same is the behavior that pushes away any man who actually wants to contribute. Now, we arrive at the moment almost nobody admits out loud, but that happens far more than people think. The regret. That quiet moment when she realizes his absence weighs a lot more than the presence she pushed away. And this regret doesn't hit all at once. It shows up slowly, in her day-to-day life, in small situations where she suddenly notices she's completely alone. Not because the world abandoned her, but because she pushed away exactly the man who wanted to be there. This regret usually comes in layers. The first layer is practical loneliness. Those simple moments she never paid attention to before. Someone asking if she got home safe. Someone watching out when she crossed a dark street. Someone offering to take care of a heavy problem in her day. When all of that disappears, she realizes that this so-called absolute independence has an emotional cost nobody warned her about. It's not glamorous. It's not a movie version of freedom. It's a silence that bothers her. A feeling that nobody is really there for her. Then comes the second layer. Emotional loneliness. It's when she notices that guy is no longer around. The one who, even without fancy words, showed care in the details. The one who, by instinct, paid attention when something felt off. The one who worried. The one who took risks for her. That kind of presence isn't easy to find. And when she realizes she lost it, not because he quit, but because she pushed him away, the regret becomes heavy. And then there's the hardest layer. Facing her own pride. Admitting she mocked his protection. Admitting she confused care with control. Admitting that the independence narrative she embraced was really just a shield to avoid vulnerability. And that's the part that hurts the most. Because it forces her to see that the problem wasn't him being too weak or too strong, but her inability to recognize the value of someone who was offering real partnership. And when she finally asks, "Why did you leave?" that question reveals more about her than about him. It shows she never connected actions to consequences. That she didn't understand that respect and acceptance are the foundation of any relationship. She thought he would stay forever, even while being rejected, ignored, and devalued. But nobody can survive being treated like dead weight. He didn't walk away to hurt her. He left because there was no room left for him to be who he is. Now we need to close this analysis by looking at the bigger picture. Because this situation isn't rare. It's basically the portrait of modern relationships today. Men's silent withdrawal isn't happening because they've become too sensitive, or because they don't want commitment. It's happening because today's cultural dynamic pushes men into a position where everything they do is misinterpreted. And when every masculine gesture is seen as a threat, naturally a lot of men stop trying altogether. The reality is simple. Men aren't losing interest in women. They're losing interest in situations where they're treated as disposable. And it's becoming obvious. Many women say they want a strong, steady, dependable man, but reject the very behaviors that make a man that way in a relationship. Culture sold independence as never let a man have a role in your life, and the result has been a heavy side effect. Loneliness on both sides. A man pulls away because he feels he has no space to be himself, and the woman misses him later, because she eventually realizes that masculine presence brings balance, security, emotional stability, things nobody can fully generate alone. But when she realizes it, the man is usually too far gone, too emotionally drained, too disconnected to come back. Her regret arrives late, only after his absence reveals the value she refused to see. And this reveals something important. No amount of modern ideology erased the human need for partnership. Culture may preach that nobody needs anyone, but real life says otherwise. People still want love, support, emotional safety, but those things require humility, recognition, and respect. Things many relationships lost in the attempt to prove they were stronger alone. This cycle keeps repeating because nobody is telling the truth. The truth is, rejecting a man's protection, care, presence, and instinct doesn't make you stronger. It makes you lonelier. The truth is, men don't vanish out of nowhere. They stop trying when every attempt turns into an attack. And the hardest truth, regret doesn't bring anyone back. This whole story proves something simple, even if it's painful. When you devalue someone's role in your life, you can't complain when they decide to live their life without you. In the end, this story shows what many men have learned the hard way. You can only protect, care, and build with someone who genuinely wants you there. A man doesn't walk away because he lost interest. He walks away when he realizes his place has been erased. When every gesture turns into an argument. When every instinct is labeled a threat. When everything he offers is rejected. Eventually, he understands. This isn't my place. And here's the truth. A man who has purpose and values isn't going to beg to stay somewhere he's not welcome. He'll move on with dignity, even if it hurts. He knows staying only creates more resentment. And when a woman turns independence into a weapon, he understands there's no room for growth. There's no partnership without acceptance. Her regret arrives late because she only sees a man's value after he's no longer there to carry the weight of the world for her. She thought his protection was something she could dismiss. Only later does she discover it was exactly what made life less harsh and less lonely. But a man who's been hurt in the place of his instinct to protect rarely returns. Not out of pride, but out of self-preservation. The ending is simple and tough. He moves on. He saves that part of himself, the part that protects, helps, pays attention, for someone who actually recognizes it. He doesn't trade his values for approval. He doesn't shrink himself to fit a modern narrative. He stays who he is, but only around someone who appreciates that. And in the silence after he's gone, she finally understands that his protection was never control. It was presence, partnership, love. But understanding doesn't bring him back. Some disconnects don't have a return. And this is one of them. He closes this chapter with the calm of someone who did his part, and she is left with the lesson life teaches late. When you mock the most sincere part of a man, you lose exactly what you were looking for.